Welcome to Trauma, Healing, and the Child's Mind series. This journey was born from a powerful personal revelation, a mother's call to transform pain into purpose. We sincerely believe that even from the deepest wounds, wisdom can emerge. Through focused learning and nurturing, our expert team brings unique insights and powerful tools to help you shift your perspective and truly begin your healing journey. At Driven Livin', we're here to support you with resources like the Drive Collective, self-improvement courses, guided meditations, and journaling. If any part of this conversation triggers you, please find immediate professional resources listed in our description. This is our shared path to evolving our paths into wisdom together. I hope you enjoy the series. Healing Stolen Childhoods, a conversation with Shari Botwin. Child abuse steals more than just innocence. It can shape a lifetime. Join us as we welcome Shari Botwin, author of Stolen Childhoods, Thriving After Abuse. Today, she will share her expertise on understanding the long-term impact of childhood abuse, breaking the silence and beginning the healing process, finding hope and reclaiming life after trauma, and ultimately, how to thrive in recovery, because we all have the right to a safe, happy, and whole life. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness-driven ride. Welcome. Let me share with you a little bit about the incredible guest that we have with us today. Shari Botwin is a licensed clinical social worker with over 25 years of experience counseling survivors of trauma and abuse. She's the author of the influential book, Stolen Childhoods, Thriving After Abuse, a guide for adult survivors of childhood abuse to break free, break their silence, and begin the process of recovery. Featured in major media outlets, Shari is also a sought-after expert witness in high-profile cases involving trauma and abuse. I am so pleased to welcome to our stage today, Shari Botwin. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I want to just welcome you to the Wellness Driven Life Show to share your expertise and your wisdom in this very delicate conversation involving child trauma and what that looks like when we move into adulthood. So let's get started by sharing with the audience a little bit more about you so we can get to know you further.
So where to start? I grew up in a family where there was a lot of dysfunction, a lot of trauma. Growing up, I had no idea really what was going on. I didn't know what to call it. I knew that there was something really, really wrong and that really bad things were happening to me, but I survived by holding on to the hope that someday someone would hear me, and that I would be able to use all these crazy making experiences that I've been through to help other people. So here I am now at 54 years old. I've now been alive for 27 years since the trauma ended. So it feels like it's a monumental time for me, because now I'm crossing the line to saying, well, for at least half of my life, I have been safe and love the life that I'm creating. And I continue to move forward through this process, because it takes a lifetime.
Oh, wow. That really is beautifully said. That, I love the way that you consider it that way, that you think of it that way. And, now you have this new life, this new birth, so to speak. And I think that that is a really wonderful aspect to get to when you can recreate, redefine. When we are children and so much happens, our brains are so sensitive and we really soak in everything that is happening, all of the examples that we have around us, and it becomes who we become. It's an identity. And we relate to that and we view ourselves as such. And coming out of that is a very challenging and delicate matter, right? So it's a journey, as always. Life is a constant journey to improving ourselves and developing ourselves. Shari, you have this great book that you have been bold enough, vulnerable enough to write and share with the rest of the world. And so I want to share a little bit of insight on that, because you begin with that you didn't know there was something wrong for a very, very long time. And I think statistically, this is very common, that we oftentimes don't realize something was wrong, or there was abuse or dysfunction or violence in some capacity, until we start going into adulthood. What was that like for you?
I mean, it was crazy making. I think it took me like 5 years in therapy to even figure out how I repressed all the abuse, why I repressed it. Just recently, I started figuring out a whole nother layer. There were drugs involved in my abuse. So one of the things that I'm figuring out is that part of my trauma really got in the way of me holding any memories in my brain about what happened. So it feels so awful to not understand and to figure out years later what actually happened. And for years, I really struggled with shame about that. Um, it's a heartbreaking journey. And what I feel like is that as I get older and I continue to look at different aspects of what happened to me, I understand really on so many levels how our brains are wired so that we can stay alive, we can stay sane, we find ways, our brain helps us find ways to protect ourselves from the things that we can't know until we're ready.
Mm, you make an excellent point. One of my favorite things to dive into is all of the science behind that. Why is it that we show up this way? Why is it that I think this way, react this way? Our bodies are robots controlled by the mind, and the mind really is this computer system where it's gathering information from our surroundings, from our experiences, and then it continues to replay. And all of the new experience that it sees, it creates what its meaning is based on what it already had, as far as experiences. So it's amazing that we can learn about that now, that so much is coming to the forefront with science. It's really, really cool. And I think that awareness is truly one of the best places to start with our healing journeys. And Shari, you mentioned that you are still bringing up things,
Mhm.
and that is a vital point to bring up, that this
Yeah.
stuff always likes to surface at who knows when points. It's a surprise, right? Surprise, you didn't know that was in there. It's the subconscious mind that harbors everything. It has all of that information that you've ever had. And then every now and again, it will come up and it will ping and it will be like, oh, gee, I wonder what that means. I like to invite that as a curiosity moment where we can look at those times in a curious standpoint. How about you?
Absolutely. And I look at it as opportunities. I think about the life that I created, right? I work as a therapist, I specialize in trauma. So most of the people that I see in my practice have gone through something. And again, the traumas are different. Some people have abuse, some people have lost parents, house fires, whatever the traumas are, but there's so many commonalities in the work that I'm doing with clients. And I think about you, to myself, you have thrown yourself into a world where you're getting hit with reminders over and over, like sometimes 8 hours a day. Just a couple years ago, I started doing what we call expert witness work, which is when I meet with plaintiffs who are trying to litigate, whether it's civilly or criminally. And I just completed a case where I testified on behalf of over 75 women, all abused by a pediatrician. And what was fascinating is that there were different pieces of what they each shared with me that triggered stuff about my own history. So it was almost like, wow, just when you think you're done the work or you figured it all out, there's still stuff to figure out. And,
Yeah.
again, like earlier in my life, I would become distraught as memories would come into my awareness. I would go into what I called shame attacks. I felt so hopeless. I didn't want to be alive. It was awful. Now I use humor about it and I go, well, here we go again. Like, I guess something's coming up. And I know when something's coming up. I have all these like warning signs. So I spend like a few weeks, what I call building strength, working out a lot, talking to people, thinking to myself, it wouldn't be coming up if you weren't ready. And this
Mm.
case that I worked on, it ended in December. And maybe 2 months after the case ended, I started to confront a whole nother aspect of my trauma that I had never dealt with. And it's heartbreaking and it's so painful. But now when I face stuff, I do it with self compassion. I don't hate myself. I don't want to disappear. I feel for my younger self. I try to honor and love my younger self. So it's really painful, but it's healing. It's almost like when you feel like you're at a funeral and everybody's wrapping their arms around you. That's kind of how I approach the process now.
Yeah. Shari, I appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing all of that with us, because we want to be able to relate if
Yeah.
people have gone through traumatic experiences like that, or just experiences in life that weren't pleasant, how they do come up when we're doing certain things, or we're reading, or we're listening to something. Smell is a huge one, and sound for me, certain songs, and you just don't know when memories are going to come up and surface. I agree with you. I've had some experiences with law enforcement working with victims, and as you're working with them and going through paperwork, you start to shine the light on your own life and have these realizations and these profound understandings of, wow, this too has been featured in my life story, and so it's interesting as we want to go in and learn more about ourselves, and then also help other people in sharing that story and helping them on their own journeys. And it's a difficult place, because it will absolutely resurface things, because you're inviting those energies of working them out and healing them. So you also mentioned that you didn't want to live. You had those feelings of, this is maybe my fault, or I didn't do this, or I should have. The should haves are huge, right? And so I appreciate you bringing that up too, because I think that is also extraordinarily common when we don't know what's going on. We feel like so much is wrong with us, and we don't want to be here because of it.
And again, that feeling of wanting to disappear, not wanting to be alive, that's the shame. What I learned in therapy was that when I would go to that place where I wanted to disappear, didn't want to be here anymore, nobody cares about me, I figured out that that was the defense mechanism. If I disappear, then I don't have to know. If I disappear, I don't have to hold people accountable. If I disappear, it didn't happen. So once I figured that out, and again, those feelings still will come, but once I figured out the role of shame, what I was able to do was be able to recognize, okay, this is a defense mechanism. You don't want to know this, but what would be the benefit of letting yourself know? How will that help you? How will that make you stronger? How will that help you come to a place of acceptance? So we all feel shame. People feel shame about things that aren't even about trauma. the important thing I think to keep in mind is if we know when it's coming up and we know what to do when it's happening, if we know how to manage the shame and understand it, then we can push it to the side and then keep moving forward in wherever or whatever part of the process we're in.
Yeah, you mentioned also, it took you 5 years in therapy before something really, really hit and surface. And I want to bring that up because this is truly a long-term journey for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like for you when you finally had that understanding, that first moment that this isn't right here?
I mean, it was terrible. It was actually March 7th, 1999. That's the day I called my therapist and spoke on her voicemail about my dad having been one of the people that sexually abused me. And that's part of the reason why I want to do this work, because I don't want people to go through what I went through early in the healing process, especially people who blocked memories, whether they suppressed or repressed. I don't want anybody to have to go through that. The onslaught of body memories, the shame, I felt like my whole world was upside down. I thought I'm never going to make it through this. Now I have to figure out what to do about my family. Do I confront them? My dad, who was the person that sexually abused me, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer 3 months after I confronted him. So then I struggle with, well, maybe because I said something, I'm the one that made him sick. I mean, it was just terrible. And there's no way around the awful feelings. The process is crazy making, but I really want to help other people understand there are ways you can get through that part of your life, and it does get better. At the time, I used to say to my therapist, I'm never going to be able to do this. I can't, I would always say to her, I can't keep doing this. And she just kept saying to me, you're not going to always feel like that. And I would get so mad because I would think, well, yeah, I will. How am I never going to not feel like this when my own dad this and my own mom that? But now, and again, that took me at least 10 years to really understand that you can shift how you feel about everything in your life, no matter if it's something that happened to you, something somebody did to you, or even just a transition that at the time you think, I'm never going to get through this. Your feelings they shift. It's not that I don't feel things anymore, but I feel differently. I have different perspective. I've digested. So there's so much hope in that. And at the time, I mean, I seriously don't know how I'm here. I was just distraught, despondent. I think I'm here partly because I had the best therapist in the whole world. And I love her. And I went to session after session. I went multiple times a week because I didn't want to go inpatient. I wanted to continue to work. And again, I probably, looking back, it's not that I should have gone inpatient. It probably would have sped the process up. I would have had more time to just sit and focus on what I needed to talk about, but that didn't work for me. And the way I did it is the way that I did it. But if anybody out here is listening thinking, yeah, I understand, I think my life is ruined. You're not, your life isn't ruined. You're saving your life. You're making your life unruined, even though that's not a word. Your childhood might have been ruined. Whatever you've gone through that time in your life maybe was ruined, but you're not ruined.
Oh, beautifully said, Shari. Thank you. I felt that very, very moving. I having a hard time over here. But you are so right that, when people tell us that this too shall pass, when you're in that moment, you feel like that's impossible. When you feel like you're in that dark cave or you're, 100 feet under in this cave, in this hole that you can't get out, that there's no surface, the light isn't even shining, and you don't feel like anything can change, but yet change is the only constant. And you mentioned that it took you 10 years to start seeing it differently or having that energy shift about it. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it as well. We are energetic beings. And because of that, they do shift. And I could say so many instances in life where I really knew and I felt that shift. And I think that a good way to see that and understand that and know that is A, when you're not thinking about it anymore. B, when you're not surrounded with the patterns and the people and the situations and the environments that, where all of those energies are harbored. You are up leveling into a different sort of frequency, so to speak, then you will no longer be thinking or running into those things. So we're going to move into our first commercial. And when we get back, we're going to further this conversation on what we do when we're going into that healing world and how to maintain it. Stay tuned. Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today. Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Shari Botwin speaking on healing stolen childhoods. And what a beautiful title for your book, because it does absolutely feel like your childhood has completely been robbed of you when you've had such traumatic experiences during that time. And now let's jump into what that healing is like, the process of it. You mentioned that family was a really challenging hurdle to jump over. And when it's with family where all of those traumatic events happen and they're not separated from us, or we feel so tied to them and the bloodlines and all to that, it is one of the most challenging hurdles to get over again. And so separating ourselves, creating distance and boundaries, and even a mindset of it being okay to do so is one thing. Can you share what that was like for you?
It was terrible at first because I thought that family was the only family I would ever have. But then what I started doing was I started thinking about the connections that I had in my life, the ones that I was forming through work as a therapist. I started meeting what I would consider mentors, making friends that were what I would call family by choice. And I realized that I can still feel family and I can create a family. And for me, that was part of what kept me going through the process and healing. Was the more I continued to do this work, this was what I would tell myself: you're setting yourself up to have then the family that you want. And now at 54, I can say there's definitely things missing, but the family that I've created, the love that I feel as a parent, the friendships that I have formed with people that are like big sisters and little sisters and sort of play like mom-like figures have been so fulfilling and so healing for me.
So we're talking more about building new families, whether they're blood or not, and community. The people who really hold us, that we can trust and love and share life with together. Those are the pieces to me where once we start getting out of that dark hole and, losing our nails trying to get out of that darkness, that it's those who can help push us out or grab our hands and pull us out. Being able to trust others again, or feel comfortable enough to be able to trust others with maybe our past and sharing our stories. My goodness, it certainly is a journey. And I know that you talk very heavily about creating that community for us.
It's such a, I mean, again, it's such an important piece for me. It's part of why I think I'm still here. It's part, the people I have around me are partly what helps me to love myself, because now I'm in relationships with people that I feel like they know me. They really know me. I'm not masking anymore. I'm open, I'm sharing, I let myself be vulnerable. I ask for help. I confront when I need to confront. I have other people in my life who of course have gone through different trauma, some in childhood and some now as, in adulthood. And the idea that they're with me. One of the things that I used to do early in my recovery, anytime I was having a new memory, was I would picture all the people that I felt loved me standing around me. And like, I love how you say the giving yourself a hug thing, because I would picture this circle of people like literally around me, holding me. And those images really stuck with me. They're still with me. So helpful. And I would say to anybody out here, if you have people in your life that serve that purpose, you need to put them in your heart and brain, and you need to bring them with you anywhere and everywhere you need them.
I think that is such a beautiful, beautiful way. And the visions, when we start going into, I'm a huge advocate for meditations, hypnotherapy, all those sort of things where we can enter into the subconscious and really start recreating a new reality for ourselves. And so the visualization of having those around you, holding you, hugging you is so wonderful. I like to do that. Also, I just started doing that actually. I did it initially when when you say that you should be around the 5 people that inspire you the most, the ones that, are doing the things that you want to do, with the people who you want to be like, strive to be like, you really look up to them. And when we start surrounding ourselves with those people, we just continue to up level and we meet more and more and more. And I say, it doesn't have to be somebody that's in person. It can be through books, through, audibles, through podcasts, right? People who are no longer living. But if they inspire you, picture being around them and surrounded by them and sitting at their table. I've had another guest talk about that. So I've done it in that capacity. But as far as, being surrounded and held and truly loved, so that was more the intellectual side. This is more on the spiritual aspect of ourselves, where key thing here is to love yourself and to know that you are loved and loved. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
I mean, this is what I think. I think if we know there's one person out here that really loves us, we can pretty much get through anything.
Yeah. What are some of the other tips and tricks that you have for people on this journey of, healing yourself as an adult to recreating thyself?
One of the things that I've learned is that when we have things like our childhood stolen, there's things we can do to get that back. So I can't be a kid anymore, and I don't actually want to be a kid anymore because I don't want to go back to school. I love my job, but being able to access that child in me, the child that wants to feel free and laugh and have fun. I do a lot of that through my relationship with my just about turning 14-year-old boy. I find ways to let myself react the way I might have reacted as a kid, or let myself feel or express my feelings in a kid-like way, to be able to have a sense of humor, to be able to just honor the part of ourselves that felt unlovable, felt unworthy, and be able to focus on what the differences are in our lives now moving forward. there's so many different things that I tell people or I learn from other people about what to do to keep ourselves sane, what does reclaiming your childhood mean? Because what it means to me will be different than what it means to you. We each have our own story. We each have things that work, things that don't work. So I could sit here for hours and talk about all the things that have helped me, but I learned so much from everybody else too. All the clients that I've worked with through the years, the things that some of them have said to me, I'm like, okay, I never thought of doing that. Singing to myself. Wait, I never thought of that. Or one client, she hated journaling, so she spoke in her phone. That's how she journaled. She just recorded herself. My other friend, Sandy, who I love to pieces, she talks to trees. I'm like, San, trees? Are you actually serious? But I actually understand what that is now that like I sit with it and I think about it. And I there's just we are all very creative too in the way that we think. So be open to whatever comes up for you and however you think will help you. Don't question that. If you think it's going to help, it probably will help.
Ah, I love that you also bring that up because there are so many things out there. There's a million different ways that we can, work on healing ourselves and work on growing ourselves and just try a few out. If it works, wonderful. You can continue that habit and try new things. And so I think that that is so beautiful. What are some of the things that practices that you do on a daily basis now?
I laugh all the time. I know that's not like a concrete answer, but one of the things that I do is I say to myself, you need to laugh at least once a session. And I have had sessions with people where I'm laughing, I'm sitting in this chair and I'm practically falling off the chair. I used to be a dancer. I used to do a lot of musical theater. So I'm not doing musical theater at 54 years old, but I still listen to all the shows that I used to perform and I listen to the music. I love my Peloton. I just found this new studio where I go take what these classes called Solid Core, which I love because when I'm in that class, it feels very meditative. It's empowering. I love to watch certain types of shows. I try to reach out to at least 3 people a day. And I think the thing that helps me the most is just being able to be in the moment and experience what it's like to have a kid living in my house. So even if I'm not interacting with him because he's not really interested in interacting with me right now because he's going to be 14, I feel so much joy when I sit in my room and I can hear him laughing on the phone or
Mm.
talking to his bros about, dude, this thing with this game. And for me, it's like joy because I think I can't believe that this is my life. I love it. I love living with someone else who just is so quote unquote like normal. I mean, the things that he talks about seem so regular, normal, like teenager stuff. So I really take a lot of time to just be in my environment and appreciate it. I love my work. People say to me, how do you do that for a job? Isn't it so depressing? I'm like, it's so uplifting. It's painful at times, but it's uplifting. So sometimes I just sit here and think about, well, how many more years are you going to be a therapist? And I think, when are you not going to be a therapist? I'm not going to retire. What am I going to do? So I try to really sit and take inventory of my life and think about, what do I want to change? What do I want to keep the same? I would say if I were to sum that up, I making space to be in the present and just really being in constant awareness about, is it working for me? Is it good for me? Is it helpful?
Yeah. So I want to take this time to congratulate you, Shari, on breaking the cycle because you have, who knows how many generations that abuse and trauma has taken place. And you have broken that cycle. You have a son who is living a healthy, safe life with laughter and joy. And how fortunate is he?
Oh,
And him continuing on through his life, and if he has children, that cycle has been broken. And that is the goal here. And that is exactly what you're teaching and guiding others to do through your therapy, through your book, where you're really here on this show, where you're ever expanding that story and knowledge and wisdom globally. And so I just want to take this time to give you some credit for that, because it's beautiful. And that is how we evolve as a species.
100%. I couldn't say it any better. And it's the most, people say, how can I get revenge? How do I get back at all the people that hurt me? I say the best revenge is breaking the cycle. That to me is the ultimate saying, I'm not going to pay that forward. And I've now, like you said, broken generations of cycles, and that living a good life, that's revenge. That's healing.
Yeah. I just got shivers. Cool. Beautiful. Shari, thank you so much for being our guest on the show. I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you and your information, your book, to get their hands on that. Also, it's on Audible. I purchased the Audible edition so I can listen to it while I'm out on walks or what have you, talking to trees. I love that. Being out in nature is so healthy. You talked about movement. You can listen in to things with movement. Podbeat is an incredible resource. You can download their app and have a beat behind the stories. So when you're moving and really, motion creates emotion, right? And so that's such a beautiful way to really get rid of some of those deep emotions that have been seated within us. And so ShariBotwin.com. It's been displayed here on the screen, but for those of you listening in, there you go. Easy peasy. It's also in the description below. So be sure to check her out, all of her stuff. And again, Shari, thank you so much for being our guest here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. It's our pleasure. And thank you to our audience, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.
I'm hoping this mask will provide me a safe place to hide.